This is in memory of the aunt I never met, Myrtle Lee Williams. Myrtle Lee is the daughter of Sam and Lorena Williams, and she passed away at the age of 12 at the family home just outside of Franklin, Texas, somewhere around the early 1930s. I'm sure it would have been wonderful to know her.
Grandma's hand used to issue out a warning. She'd say, Billy, don't you run so fast. Might fall on a piece of glass. Might be snakes there in that grass. Grandma's hand.
Miss Alice Easter, better known as Grandma Easter. I have some memories of Grandma Easter, and one is she lived across the street from the snack center, catty corner to the left from the snack center, and she had a huge pomegranate tree in her yard. And when we kids would get out of school down at Booker T. Washington, just south of the snack center, there would be kids that would pass her house and try to take some of the pomegranates off her tree, and she would shout from her porch, "Leave my pomegranates alone now." Even us grandkids were not allowed. I remember walking by and trying to take a pomegranate, and she would say, "Hey, now leave my pomegranates alone now. Get on home." Just like the song just said, Grandma's hands. That's another thing I remember about Grandma Easter was her hands. In that song it says, "Billy, don't you run so fast. You might fall on a piece of glass." Well, that very thing happened to me when I was a boy. I was playing in the ditch beside the snack center, running in and out, and I messed around and stepped on a piece of glass and cut my foot wide open. I was screaming so loud that Granddaddy heard me, and he rushed down to the snack center before Mom and Dad even made it outside. He picked me up and he took me out of the ditch and set me on the porch of the snack center. People had kind of gathered around, and Grandma Easter shouted from across the street, "What's wrong with that boy over there?" Somebody shouted back, "He cut his foot open." And I did cut it open bad. Next thing I remember is like the crowd that was around me, or the few people that were around me, just parted ways, and Grandma Easter stepped in. And she looked at my foot, and she took her hand with a cloth in it or something in it, and she took her hand and she just rubbed it from my toe to my heel a couple of times, and the bleeding stopped. Daddy said that she had the ability to heal, and she was known for that. Grandma Easter. To speak of Big Mama, you automatically have to speak of Granddaddy. Matter of fact, when we were kids, we used to say their name together. Like, Mama would be like, "Where y'all going?" We'd say, "We're going over Big Mama and Granddaddy house." We could never say one without the other. And Big Mama, she could cook. I mean, cook like no one else, except for Dad, which that's who taught him to cook. And Granddaddy, he would sit on the porch all the time, and he would watch everybody go by. Even as boys, we ride by on our bike. "Hey, Granddaddy," he'd say, "Hey, boys." Even when I got my car and I became a young adult, I would ride by coming in from out of town, and I would blow, "Hey, Granddaddy," he'd say, "Hey, Hal." I missed him a lot. Granddaddy had a little pasture behind the snack center where he kept a horse. And he kept a dog back there and some hay in the barn. He kept it neat and groomed. And it sort of reminded him of when they lived in Franklin, I guess. Because Daddy said when he was in Franklin, he had a horse, and that's how he got around on a horse. He said he could ride that horse like the wind. I remember when Granddaddy used to saddle up his horse to go for a ride. We were little boys at that time. I remember the smell of the leather of the saddle and how he would tighten up the saddle straps. And then he would get up on the horse, and then he would reach down and pull us up on it. And then we'd take off riding with him, and we'd go all the way down in the country, all the way to where Uncle Bill was, wherever he was at his farm. We loved to be around Big Mama and Granddad all the time. We would go spend the night, and Big Mama would fix us dinner, and she would treat us like royalty when we stayed with her. And we would go in her room and sit and talk to her while she sat and she sewed quilts, mended clothes, and we would just talk, or we would sit in there with Granddad and watch TV, and we'd just be sitting there just in peace and glad to be around him. One thing Granddaddy was infamous for and that I will treasure forever, and that is his giving of dimes at Christmas time. DeMattis Sherman Sr., known to me as Uncle DeMattis. Uncle DeMattis, I remember him being a kind man, a strong man, a man who loved his wife and his family. Uncle DeMattis was smooth. He wore neat clothes all the time and carried himself in a groomed manner. I remember he would always be there when we would go visit, hanging out with his family, enjoying our company as we did his. Estine Denise Williams Good. Estine. Just as her name is unique, so was she. Estine was one of those people that everybody liked. Everybody wanted to be around her, not because she was popular or anything like that, but just because she was nice, cool people. Estine passed away at the age of 32, leaving 4 children behind and her husband, Carl Good. Estine has been missed over the years, but there are many memories that I hold on to whenever I think about my sister, such as when she won Miss Black Teenage Texas, which was a great event to witness. We enjoyed it very well. Estine started in church at a young age, singing in choirs and playing the piano, and she used that talent to serve God as well as to go on and do some things with her career in entertainment. She and I, at one time, owned a record company in Houston, and we were very close as siblings, as she was with all of us children, and with her cousins and uncles and aunts and everyone. Everyone loved Estine. She is truly missed as well. Doris Sherman. To us kids, she was Aunt Doris. Aunt Doris had $1 million smile and a personality to match. She loved to dress up nice and go to church. She was devoted to her family. She loved her kids and her husband. Like Big Mama Williams, I remember Aunt Doris for being a great cook as well. Aunt Doris was kind. She was always someone we wanted to be around whenever they went town visiting. Aunt Doris had a great laugh and a great sense of humor. She had a great wit about her, too. She would always make you laugh. I miss her a lot. Billy Carl Williams, a.k.a. Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill was a long, lanky fella, and he was around us since we were kids. We would go over his house and visit, hang out with him at the farm, at the chicken barn, ride horses with him, go down on his farm while he feed the pigs. He would take us to FFA event with him also over in Centerville, which was always fun to do as boys. To me and my brothers, he was our cowboy, our John Wayne. Seemed like he could do anything on the farm. He could raise anything, and he had some of everything around there. Tractors and trucks, cars, a bunch of old hound dogs. We used to go down to Uncle Bill's farm and shoot guns all the time. He didn't mind. He loved it. Sometimes he would break out his gun and shoot with us. And he would let us come on to his place and go hunting anytime we felt like it. Uncle Bill was cool. Aubrey Dale Williams, Uncle Aubrey. My brother Darrell is named after him, Aubrey Darrell Williams. Uncle Aubrey was a character. Whenever you were around him, you better be ready, because he's going to challenge you mentally. He's going to talk at you, talk under you, talk over you. You always have to be ready. He was always funny, always had something funny to say, and always had a story to tell. He could tell some wild stories, some stuff you just couldn't believe, but I'd go back and double check with Dad, and Dad would kind of say, yeah, that's kind of right. I miss Uncle Aubrey. Uncle Aubrey was known as the Tree Man. He would travel anywhere across the United States to locate trees for people, bring them back and plant them in their yards or on their business property. As a boy, I climbed trees in our yard that he had planted. Uncle Aubrey was known as one of the best tree locators in Texas. Winnie B. Williams, that's my mama. And what can I say about my mother? I mean, there's so much to say. She was everything to me, she was everything to our family, and we do miss her a lot. Mom was a self-made woman, one that always took on a challenge to rise up, to beat the odds, no matter what the challenge. She was raised on a sharecropper's farm just outside of Calvert, Texas. And at some period during her teen years, she and her family migrated to Marlin, where she met Daddy and eventually married. Mom was a self-made woman. She learned things so she could be productive in life to help her family. She loved her family. Mama loved the Lord, and she taught us all to do the same. I had said that Big Mama Williams could cook, but so could Mama. Doris Williams, known to us kids as Aunt Doris. There are two Aunt Dorises in our family, Aunt Doris from Fort Worth, who is my daddy's sister, and Aunt Doris from Waco, who is Uncle Glenn's wife. Aunt Doris was a kind lady, very kind. I remember we would go visit Aunt Reba in Waco, and Alfred would always take us around to Uncle Glenn's house to visit them. She was always kind to offer us cookies or milk or something like that before we head on out on our journey to wherever we was going. And whenever she would come visit us in Marlin, it was always a pleasure to see her as well. Aunt Doris, a strong Christian woman who was devoted to her family. This is in memory of Ray Williams, son to Uncle Aubrey Williams and his first wife, V. Ray was a lot older than I was, and I don't remember much about him. But what I do remember about him is that he was slim, tall, dark, and good-looking. Ray served in the Vietnam War. I remember that. And I also remember that Ray passed away during the 70s from what I believe was lung cancer. Ray Williams. This dedication has been in memory of our loved ones who have passed on. One thing that came to mind as I made the list of those in our family who have passed on is that it has been roughly 80 years since Dad's sister Myrtle Lee passed away. 80 years. And in 80 years, we have only lost 12 of our core group of relatives. That is truly a blessing from God. Thank you.